Hello, I'm Marc Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today we have Dan Smith, the CEO of Astralis, in the building. How are we doing, Dan?
We're doing good, a little bit nervous, but nice to be here and thanks for being invited.
Good. Well, actually, talking about being invited, I actually heard that it was your marketing department put you up to this because you didn't really want to do it maybe straight away. So tell me about this, because I think maybe we were trying to get Laura on, but then she suggested you, so... Tell me about that story. What happened?
Laura came to me with a great idea and said, wouldn't it be cool if we got involved in a podcast? I said, sounds fantastic. I said, when are you going? She went, no, you're going. And that was kind of the beginning and the end of it. She said, you know more about this than I do, so you go and bloody talk. So that's how it came about. So,
great. Well,
but more than happy to do so.
Great. Well, lovely to have you in the studio. So, Dan, you worked at Blancco. What do you take from that experience and that time that you still use today?
It's a Finnish business. It was run by a gentleman, fantastic guy called Kim Väisänen. Hello, Kim. I think, first of all, to realise that if you think you can drink, you can't drink like the Finns, because they're crazy people, but wonderful fun, just amazing people to work for, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time. That was my first proper senior international role, if you like, and I grew up in that way of, you know, if somebody tells you to do something, you just do it. I came into management there where they were actually part owners in their country businesses, a lot of them. That was how the business was formed. And to me, to walk in as sales director and say, right, guys, now start doing this, they go, why? Why should I? And you go, oh, because I told you to. And you realise that's not enough. So I think what I realised very, very quickly was that you can't just tell people what to do. You have to demonstrate the value. You have to get them on board. You have to discuss it. You have to get the buy-in from everybody. It's not just enough to say, do this or else. Because when they say, or what, you think, well, what am I supposed to do? Fire everybody and start again? So it's about that hearts and minds. And I took that as a massive part of my personal learning, to be honest with you, when I, came into the senior role.
How do you get people bought in? How do you get people to get hearts and minds bought into something?
I think part of how it went okay was that I made the mistake early on of basically saying, now I'm a sales director, I don't need to have any accounts anymore. I can float above and pass on my knowledge. It's the wrong thing to do. Any sales director, commercial director, whatever you want to say, you need to keep your toe in, because salespeople are naturally competitive and aggressive. They're naturally saying, I'm better than you. That's part of what makes us potentially good salespeople. Keep your toe in. Keep selling, keep those accounts, because then people see it. They trust you, they believe you, they can see you're good at what you do, not just that you've got a new job of paying X per and a bonus if they hit their number. You have to stay relevant to that process.
For all those sales directors that aren't selling, you've been warned.
You can do what you like.
Keep your toe in. Don't be that stats sales director. Let's talk about Astralis, actually, because you started in the CEO hot seat early this year. How did you sort of come to sort of start the business or start the role? How's it come about?
So basically, we had a previous iteration of another ITAD called Earwell IT Services that ran from 96 through to 2022, and I was there on a couple of occasions in different roles. We sold the business, all exited. Myself and 3 other shareholders kind of said, should we sort of retire? My wife very quickly made it clear to me that retirement wasn't for me and I needed to go straight back out to work. So after about a year off, we said, you know what, we've been doing this for so long, we're so passionate about this industry, we know no better about any other industry, let's have one more go at this. Let's get the final knocking after everything we've learned over all these years, all the mistakes, all the bumps in the road. Let's do it right for one final time, and that's how Astralis came to be.
It's an interesting one, because when I speak to most owners, when I hear that they've sold and exited, that's the golden thing they're trying to get. We're going to go through an exit, then we're going to retire, then we're going to sail off into the sunset, and then after 3 months they're like, what am I going to do? How was that feeling for you? Because I hear a lot of that for owners.
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's working hard to build a business, to get it even prepared for sale is exhausting. Just going through all the due diligence is incredibly tiring. So you get to a point where you think, I can't possibly do this again. You also put all of your passion and energy into building a business up for the eventual golden goose of retirement money, you hope, sort of thing. But you very quickly realise, I'm not built to be an athlete. I'm not built to do anything else. I'm not an artist, There's only so many times I can clean my car. And I realise that what I'm built for is I'm built for business. That's whether that's good or bad, or I'm good or bad at it, I'm built for business, and that's what I want to do. And that phrase, you're a long time dead, right? Well, that's kind of keeps ringing in my ears all the time, thinking I've got more here. I don't want to have one more go. So that's what drove it.
And your wife encouraged it? You know, she'd seen you go through all the stress and you're thinking, let's get him out the door again.
You could call it encouragement. You could call it force. You could call it whatever you like. But yes, I was actively encouraged.
She was supportive, which is great.
She's been an incredible support throughout my career. She's been the person that's believed in me more than anybody else. So I couldn't have done it without her.
Fantastic. Let's talk about the business in a bit more detail. For the listeners that don't know what Astralis do, give us a bit of an overview of the business.
So the standard definition is ITAD, IT asset disposal. So basically, we're a little bit like dentists. Everybody needs one. Everybody has IT equipment within, name a business that doesn't have IT equipment. And at the end of its life, the standard process is then to obviously dispose of that equipment, but it needs to be done in a controlled manner, in a secure manner. It needs to be done with an ESG perspective behind it. There is also a value potential for that equipment. So what people need is somebody that they can trust, that can exit out the old equipment so they can focus on the new. And what you tend to find is it's very, very rare to find an ITAD division within a business. The engineers are all looking at the shiny new stuff in the cardboard boxes thinking, great, rest of it just goes in the corner. So you need a trusted partner to be able to perform that service.
And you would do that for public sector companies, corporate customers, but also for channel partners who haven't got that facility.
Absolutely. I mean, channel partners is a very specific skill and a very difficult communication that you have to have, because when you look at the channel, traditionally they see our industry as the kind of, I always call it the kind of pimple on the arse of the IT market, and I'm fine with that. I'm comfortable with that. I don't mind being the biggest pimple on the arse, but that's what we are. So it tends to be very difficult to gain their trust. They see that as a way that it's potentially harming their customer. They've got that wonderful incumbent relationship in place. Everything's fine. Why interfere with getting rid of kit where there might be some disparity over what they thought they were going to get? The kind of service levels can be maintained. So it's traditionally a difficult communication to have with a reseller.
How do you navigate that difficult communication? How do you get over that? Because there's going to be channel partners listening to this now thinking, this could be a revenue stream. I am getting inquiries about this. I am getting asked about asset disposal, but maybe they're not doing anything about it. So how do you bridge that?
I always say to people, I don't want to be your partner.
Right.
I want to be a division of your business. Right. I want to make you look good. Right, I'm in this for a long-term relationship with that channel partner. It's not one deal. It's not, there was supposed to be 350 and there was only 345. We thought they were great. Sorry, I've got to charge you more. It's about a holistic relationship. I want to be able to say to people, look, I'm going to help you with this one because I know you're up against it. I know margins are tight, and you can help me on the next deal, and there is an ongoing relationship. And as I say, to repeat, our job is to make them look good, not to detract from the service that they provide.
Let's talk about sustainability and ESG, because it was a hot topic last year. Not so much, I'm hearing, this year, but are you seeing the demands from customers or end users around ESG demands and sustainability, or are you seeing it from channel partners saying, actually, my customers are asking about ESG and sustainability? Where's the most noise in the market?
It's a tricky question to answer, because you want to say, oh yes, everybody asks about it. There's always a component of any deal that's based on ESG and sustainability. It's based on charitable donation. It's based on reuse, refurbishment, remanufacture. It's based on, CO2 emissions, etc. But it's a component of the deal. It's not all of the deal. So yes, you could say it's actually across every customer that we work with because they need it for their own ESG reporting, etc., etc. But it's not necessarily the driver that some would think it would be.
At the moment, Dan, everyone's chasing as a service models, software as a service, desktop as a service, whatever as a service. Are you seeing that as a potential opportunity for ITADs to leverage that opportunity and work with channel partners?
We've explored it a number of times, and my marketing department said I'm supposed to say it's outcomes, not labels at this point. Thanks, Law.
Right.
No, here's what it is. It's very, very tricky to get right. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're dealing with a new client, you don't really know what their life cycles are. You don't know if they're getting rid of everything in 1 month or getting rid of 5 devices a month for the next 5 years. You don't know where they're sweating their assets. If they're 3 years old, 4, 5, you get some supermarkets that you think is the golden goose, and you go there and the stuff's 12 years old. So to give a monthly cost, to give a rate that everybody's comfortable with, very, very rarely works. It's either that the customer gets a sweetheart deal, or that 3 months later they're saying, why are you still charging me for this when I've done nothing about it? So I would say, because of the project nature of what we do, and because of the sporadic nature in which some companies retire assets, it's a tricky model to make work.
Vendors versus resellers versus life cycle partners. Who's best placed to win over the next sort of 5 years?
If you talk about my market specifically, I'll be truthful with you, a lot of it focuses around refurb or remanufacture. First of all, the biggest problem you have in our market right now is that if I said to you, would you like a refurb laptop or PC, what your expectations are will be different to the next person and the next person and the next person. It is incredibly difficult. Now, when you talk about something like the vendors, well, they're thinking, well, hey, hang on a minute. If everybody's going to buy refurb, we better have a piece of this pie, if you like. So they're now drawing in a lot of equipment from our market and refurbishing it themselves, where they're reskinned, they may be resprayed, the latest software, etc. But more than that, it's giving enterprise the comfort that they have a warranty, that they have a service, that it's treated as new, that it has a battery that works for a period of time, that it has a new PSU, if you like. So the manufacturers are sort of taking that side of things, and they will soak that up, because most enterprises say, I'm not going to trust a little firm round the corner. I want a vendor level, a manufacturer level quality of refurbishment. So you will see those kind of certified programs coming through. When you look at something like the resellers, that's very, very difficult for them at the moment, because there is this hodgepodge of different organisations that have sprung up saying, sure, we refurb, sure, we've got this great kit for you, sure, we give you access to this market. The truth is that the quality is massively different depending on where you go. There's also the expectation from the end client is that it is almost as new, and to try and get across to them to say, look, it's not new, there's a wonderful ESG message here, but you have to understand that there is some wear and tear with these devices, even if you reskin them. I mean, take for an example, you reskin a laptop, you can't reskin the side. So if it has a scratch on the side, well, that's normal, that's wear and tear. And if you want something that is almost as new, then you're paying almost as new prices. If you think about us in the ITAD market, it's really now about being a life cycle partner. It's not enough just to be an ITAD anymore. There's a massive amount of people in our industry in the UK, some 300-400. I track 175 on a monthly basis just to see how they're doing, and they're the big ones.
Do you really?
I really do.
Yeah.
So sad, I know, but I do, and I enjoy it. But their side of things is, look, what are we trying to be now? We can't just be an ITAD anymore, because there's so much price competition out there that many of them, I think if they're honest, are probably charging the same as they were 10, 15 years ago, because it's so price competitive. So what everybody has to be is a life cycle partner. That's what most are aspiring to be. I want to touch that product multiple times through its life. I want to warehouse, I want to build, I want to image, I want to tag, I want to deliver, I want to support, I want to repair, update, upgrade, redeliver, work from home solutions. That's where the market needs to go, and that's where it becomes compatible. You're not just the butcher, if you see what I mean, at the end of the parade of shops. You're then the butcher, the baker, and everything else that comes along that a modern channel partner actually needs, rather than trying to engage with multiple suppliers all the time, which inevitably will fall to pieces within a matter of months.
When you speak to a client and they say, well, I'm looking to save money, I'm looking to maybe either buy refurbished kit, there obviously is a cost saving. What is the added advantages that they might perceive? Is it just ESG? Is it doing the right thing? Is it a cost? You know, how do you sort of convince them that this is the right thing to do? I
think it's about the modern workplace and the usage. If you're talking about somebody that doesn't have software on the device anymore in the way that they used to, the requirements of modern computers that they might buy are not as stringent as they used to be. Actually, we need a tablet that just opens up to the server and we can go on the network and see everything we need to see. So the technology is starting to stagnate in the sense of what people want. I think there is obviously a great ESG message. It's a wonderful message. It's demanded by a lot of clients, and it's a great thing to have. There is a cost saving behind it as well. Other than that, it's really just saying here, you know, shouldn't we be looking to repair and reuse? Should we really just be this disposable society for the rest of time? You know, we've really got to move beyond that space now.
What's your view on MDF? Because I often hear about vendors having MDF and partners, maybe not companies like yours, but certainly the partner community, trying to access MDF, trying to get it. What's your view in that? Is there people missing out on the opportunity to get MDF, and how do you actually go about getting it?
I think there's always missed opportunities. I think anyone who says MDF runs perfectly in every supplier or partner relationship would be would not be telling the truth. I've explored this on numerous occasions with numerous people. You tend to get some of the partners will come to you and say, well, we want you to invest a lot of money so that we can do the training on our salespeople. The difficulty and the disparity with my industry is you might be talking about a laptop that's £300 or £400. I might be talking about a laptop that's £30 or £40 in my market. So to actually generate enough MDF to say, here's something that will make you take notice, if you see what I mean, is difficult to quantify between the two parties. So for me, is there an MDF that works? The MDF is a joint agreement to work together and communicate and trust each other and promote each other's business and be open about the customers that you're dealing with and be comfortable with you communicating and saying, look, this guy's going to make this business rather is going to make me look good. They're not a partner. They are a division of my business that's going to stop other people coming into that chain. You think about that life cycle. Most vendors go, great, I'll sell it. Brilliant. I'll move on to the next deal. But there's a circle here.
Yeah.
They still need it to be taken away at the end. They still need it to be maintained. They need it to be updated. They need it to be upgraded. If you allow somebody into that space, you are basically just breaking that circle. We give people the ability to say, actually, this is my customer. They get absolutely everything they need from me. Why would you then switch off or exclude a really important part of that circle?
You talked about trust there, Dan, and you talked about, that circle of opportunities where maybe another partner or another company can come in. How can I trust you if I'm introducing you to my customers? How do I know that Dan is not going to come in, be working with my customer, and then think, I can get better points down the road with Joe Bloggs? How can I trust you with it?
There's a number of ways which we can do that. We can say to people, look, we can either, I'll give you a specific example. If you're saying that I want you to sell this kit for me, I can either say to you, look, I will give you a guaranteed price, okay? I take care of it. If the market goes up, I make more. If it goes down, I make less. If something goes wrong, I take care of it. Or you can say to people, we will do a residual value or a consignment model where we sell it, we'll sell it on your behalf. We will show you exactly who we sold it to, when we sold it, how it was sold, what the margins were. So there's a trust element there. My market, somebody said to me once from a very well-known manufacturer, I was due to meet them, and a lady came down to reception. And I said, is so-and-so available today? And she said, no, they're not available today because they've said they don't want to meet you because your industry is full of sharks and thieves. And I was like, wow, okay, thanks very much. And to be honest with you, there is an element of that, yeah. There's been quite a few players in our market. There was a very famous story about a chap who used to have a sort of container lorry, and he would basically rock up into a town or a city, go around and do the collections, and then as soon as they were done, he would take his lorry and disappear off up the motorway, and they would never be seen again. There is the back end, but there's also an incredible amount of really dedicated quality people. Why should they trust us or myself or my business? I would say to people, I want my office to have glass walls. I want you to look through that wall and say, that's how much he's charging me, that's how much he's making, that's fair. That customer's 5 times the size of me, so yeah, he might get a little better discount, but that's what I'm looking at. And what I say to people is, I will come to you and say, this is how much margin I'm going to make, and this is why. If all I'm doing is selling a product for you and it takes me 5 minutes, I'll charge you accordingly. But if I'm collecting it, processing it, performing erasure, massive insurance policies, certifications to maintain, resale opportunities, upgrading, etc., then I need to make that margin to make my business work.
Yeah.
Because all ITADs are the same. They're very low turnover but very high profit, because it is a very labour intensive industry that we work in, and we have to be able to make that money out of the devices. And I've seen many vendors that are, or rather channel partners, that have come along and said, we need a better price. I had one recently when I spoke to the guy and I said to him, I need to make money out of what I'm doing. And he said to me, we keep going through partners and every 6 months we have to find a new partner because it's not working. And I said, that's because you're not allowing them to make the money they need to make to do a good job for you.
Do you get it where the partner or the customer might think they're worried about you taking that business somewhere else? Is there a challenge around being transparent about the relationship and how it's going to evolve? Because I look at some companies and think, well, you've been very transparent there. And I'm thinking, me personally, and I'm sure the listeners would say the same, that sounds plausible and it sounds great. How would I know that if I didn't go into an agreement with you that you wouldn't suddenly say, actually, I'm going to go to this other partner and charge them twice or take their customer with them? So how does that sort of trust issue come up?
It's first of all, it's reciprocal.
Yeah.
If they're going to trust me, I'll trust them. So I will share certain information. At the end of the day, of course, there's bid reg and bid registration as you would have in a normal sense of the word. I always say to people, I don't want to sound conceited in any way, but I say to people, ask around about me. Okay, I've got relationships that have been in place for 20, 25 years. Everybody knows that my business and the people in my business play with a straight bat. And at the end of the day, if I screw you on one deal, there could be much larger deals coming down the road that I want to work with you for. Why would I do that? What's the point in me winning one thing? What I want to do is have a 5, 10, 15-year relationship with you until my retirement, when I can look back and look the kids in the eye and look the wife in the eye and said I did the right thing. I acted with integrity, And my favourite saying of all, which I tell all my staff all the time, okay, is integrity is how you act when no one is watching.
Yeah.
That is how I like to conduct myself. And some will say that's good or bad, but that's how I like to be.
Dan, AI is creeping into every part of the way business operates now. How is it disrupting your space, your business?
The ITAD industry is always going to be an industry of arms and legs and vehicles and warehouses and logistics, etc. And that will never change. Of course, AI, will never make a dent in that. It's obviously changing a lot of things we do in the way that we run our business in terms of marketing, communication, and the commercial aspects. But as my marketing director tells me, it's a great enabler. And the reason why we say that is because there is a need to look at a lot more intelligence behind what we're doing. That could be making sure that the right serial number and asset tag is entered into the system, that the right cross-checking is done, the right erasure methodology is carried out. But it's also, we work with a lot of people now where we're doing sort of value degradation models, and it's saying to people, look, let's look at your estate and let's look at when it has the least value to you. In other words, you've sweated the asset, it's gone off the books. When you have the least ongoing cost, in other words, you have the end of your 3-year support and you would then have to move on to potentially a third party expensive support. And also it has the most retained value in the equipment after a 3 or 4 year period. That comes into my market and it's a hot item. When it's 6, 7 years old, or it's the last version of Windows, or it's an old processor, the value drops very dramatically. So by using AI, we're able to work with people and say, here's the sweet spot. This is what we should be working towards together to make sure that that life cycle is maintained. You have the latest equipment, the best value back, the lowest ongoing costs, and everything else that goes with that model.
Dan, a controversial topic and question, ageism in the channel. And what I mean by that is there's rapid developments around AI now. Are older professionals, and I put myself in that bracket, I'm 50 next year, are older professionals now who maybe haven't been at school for a long time, maybe they're struggling to sort of adopt to maybe AI or not been taught that, are they going to be left behind? Are they going to be able to be reskilled? Or do you think that that experience is still vital for an organisation?
I can only speak for my own industry, and that's all I'd want to answer. It is absolutely fantastic that we have mature, older ladies and gentlemen in our industry because of what I said earlier, that there is that lack of trust. And I think age, let's hope that brings a perception of trust along with it. I'm 52 and, I haven't realised I was old until I got old, to be honest with you. And I recently had an argument with my wife where I said, I'm the same weight as when we got married. And she said, yes, but all the weight's now in a different place on your body, which I thought was very kind of her, But yes, it's incredibly important. I think that with experience comes, if anybody ever says to me, wow, you're really, you're really wise or anything, I say, no, it's because I've experienced things. I don't have to panic. It's something I've encountered before. It's something I know how to deal with. But more than anything else, the way we work is to say, I want to walk a mile in that man's shoes or that woman's shoes. I want to go, I know what the customer wants to achieve. And to me, that does come with age and experience. So we should embrace that. We shouldn't be turning away from it.
Absolutely.
And you're old, so you get...
I know, do you know what? I know now. I'm still, as a recruiter, they said I'm like the oldest recruiter in town, which doesn't go down too well.
Neither of us suffer from the need for combs, do we? So.
Exactly. Let's bring it up to date. What are you most excited about right now? Could be in business, could be for next year. What's exciting in the market?
For me, I guess when I came back to the ITAD space, I rang a friend of mine who's very senior in a Japanese insurance business, and I said to him, look, I'm starting again. The problem with our industry is everyone has a sort of proclivity. They all go, oh, we're all focused on ESG, we're all focused on security, we're focused on free, and value. Actually, each one of those things is part of the message, if you like, and part of the story. And it's sometimes difficult to break through that. And I rang my friend and I said to him, so what do you think I should do? Do you think I should do security? Do you think I should focus on ESG? Do you think I should focus on value? And he actually said, genuinely, I don't give a shit. And I said, no, come on. You got to help me out here. Just give me a steer. He said, I don't give a shit. He said, it's service. He said, what we care about is you taking care of our equipment. We've got 100 other things to deal with, threat factors, incredible issues around a modern business, if you like, security and all that comes with it. We just need somebody to take care of it. We need somebody we can trust, but we need somebody to take care of it. We don't need a 3-hour meeting every month. We just need to know, ring this person, it will be dealt with in a proper, quality, service-led manner. And that's what the kind of light went on, and I was like, oh, okay, this is how we need to run the business. So that's what we're most excited about, is we've come to the market now with a thing called the Triple E strategy. Again, our industry's been doing the same thing for 25 years. Treat everyone the same, treat every device the same. But you might have items that have data on. You might have items that have been in the cloud, have no data. You might have items that need to be redeployed. So there's different service requirements for them. So what we do with Triple E is we basically do essential, enhanced and elite. So what we say is, okay, you've got this equipment, it might be new, it might be in your warehouse, you've never used it. There's no data risk, there's no need to process or repair. We can provide a very, very simple, straightforward, low-cost model where we're not doing the same thing with everything, regardless of condition, need. Then there's kind of the next stage up, which is, okay, we need that ITAD service, we need the quality, we need the certifications, we need the insurance, we need the logistics, we need everything else, but actually there is no retained data on this equipment, so you don't need to act as a data processor. That lowers our costs, that lowers our insurance, that lowers the accreditations that we need to employ. And then there's the elite, which is the full beans model, if you like. So I think that's kind of new for the market. We've tried to find a USP, the impossible USP, right? But for me, that's something we're really excited about, because it's really resonating with customers that go, actually, you're charging me this because of that and that because of that. That makes sense. It has to make sense.
Dan, you said the industry maybe hasn't changed for the last 20, 25 years. What's your view on the ITAD industry now and moving forward? Where's the opportunity for your company in 2026?
The ITAD industry, the previous company, EOL, that started in 1996. I didn't join until 2002. And it was started by a lady called Jan, who actually basically bought and sold a printer on her dining room table. And that was the beginning. And actually it was either the first or the second ITAD that ever came about in the UK. Back then it was the Wild West. Nobody had a clue about security. No one cared about the environment in the same way. It was all about, here's £1 more. So what they then tried to do is the industry tried to mature itself by being more formal. And what happened was there was an awful lot of accreditations and standards that appeared. The difficulty with those is they've become more and more draconian and more strict and more out of touch with actual customers. Most of them, you go to the customer and you say, hey, we've got this, and they go, great, but what's that got to do with me? Right? I've got these things to worry about. Why do I need to sign these 12 documents? So the industry has got to the point where it's now over-regulated, but it's forgotten that the customer comes first and that service comes first. So where do I see 2026? I see that it will continue to follow that service model where there's nothing wrong with our position in the market, our place. We should be incredibly proud of what we do, but it needs to be a component service that enables them to focus on the big problems that exist today with modern businesses that maybe weren't there 20 years ago.
And would you say that is your differentiator in the market, your focus on service? What would you say stands out for your organisation?
I think I'd like to say that. Yes, I'm sure. No one says I'm dishonest, by the way. So everyone would wish to put themselves forward as a good business and a quality business. But yes, I think it is. I think we genuinely, fundamentally understand the client's needs, and we put the client's needs before our own. Ours is secondary. When I used to train salespeople, I used to say to them, right, okay, so tell me, what do you want to get out of this? And they go, well, I want a 911. You go, it doesn't matter. What does the customer want to get out of this? That's what matters. What you get is a byproduct of that success, not a driver for that success. Most people kind of lose that along the way, I think.
My last question, Dan, and I don't want you to sit on the fence, and I don't want you to say your
I've
own
not sat on the fence so
No,
far,
you haven't.
have I?
You've
No.
been good. You've been good.
You can edit out all the swearing.
But I don't want you to say your own company or maybe someone who you've got an alliance to. Genuinely, in your opinion, which business, tech business, could be a vendor, partner, MSP, distributor, do you think is the one to watch in 2025 to 26?
Oh, crikey. I want to call my own business
No,
out.
no,
I can't
no,
do
we
that.
can't do that. We can't do that.
I can do that. Well, this is my chance, right? I want to call my own business out. Well, what's the future? I tell you, the future for me is the business that cracks the proper standardisation of the refurb model or the remanufacturing model. Somebody that makes it mainstream. There is this weird perception that there's tens and hundreds of thousands of refurb devices out there in the market, and we've filled in a tender recently where somebody said, give me a price for 5,000, 10,000. There aren't that many out there. Try finding them. Someone who cracks that and makes it a certified quality mainstream product delivery with service, or the industry that cracks that, that's the future. Because there's an enormous amount of life in these devices, but at the moment it's too Wild West, and it's really at the beginning of that. It's first generation, I suppose, in many ways.
Dan, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.